HamiltonRadio.net. What up? What's good? Say Q, Drew Smitty, Ron Committee, so unique is back. Yeah. West Trent. Yeah. Hip hop lives through me, it came from the streets. Rhythm with a break beat, prove who can MC. Metaphors and techniques made you have to check me. My dialect connect peace, lyrics that are wet sheets. Spit it raw and sexy, shorty wanna F me. Swerving to the left beat, on the grind and stress free. Bust a shot of dead beef, hit him in the headpiece. Warned you not to test me, ice bars is Gretzky. Slide it in your wifey, all the women love me. A slight touch of grimy, slicing half a dime piece. Knuckle rapper 5-piece, high looking Chinese. Muay Thai IP, vivid on your wide screen. Eyes wide like high beams, too low to find me. Switching lanes like car thieves, Starsky and Hush trees. Roll up the best weed, firewater Hennessy. Ginseng for energy, holla mommy Ben Aki. He play hits, HamiltonRadio.net station. The Monk Show, I'm tuned in. He play hits, HamiltonRadio.net station. The Monk Show, I'm tuned in. He play hits, HamiltonRadio.net station. The Monk Show, I'm tuned in. He play hits, HamiltonRadio.net station. The Monk Show, I'm tuned in.
Okay. Shout out to my man. Turn my mic up a little bit because I can't, or my headphones or something. I can't hear myself like I normally do. You heard me? The mic is low, or it's the headphones or something. Alright, there we go. Alright, shout out to my man, Unique, the guy that you hear rapping on my intro. He is now working with the Wu-Tang. Yeah, the real Wu-Tang. You know, he down with them, you know what I'm saying? And you could do whatever you accomplish, well, that you think that you can accomplish. You know, follow your dreams and stuff. But the nature of the night show, I'm talking a lot of shit. We're going to get into some of the current events. And, hold up. Let me turn my music on. Something going on. They got me. I'm trying to play from a SoundCloud. They got me some other stuff playing. I give a background music on the iPad. There we go. All right. So I'm going to start off with this, man. As with this 423 shows or something like that, 423, I think it's 423. So I just want to talk about why people don't make it out of their hood or don't make it nowhere for a minute. You know what I'm saying? It's ignorance. It's a certain situation I want to speak on, but I don't want to put nobody out there. But it's ignorance and jealousy. People who see you about to make it somewhere or you doing something with yourself and they got to throw a monkey wrench up in your game. You know what I mean? That's like far too prevalent. Like, if we're going to deal with black people, first of all. We supposed to be having black unity, the police killing us, all of that type of stuff. Still can't get it together. It's still like, if you teach, like, you know, we supposed to each one teach one. But now if you teach one, they use the stuff that you taught them against you. Yeah, we're not saying everybody, but how can you differentiate? How can you do that? As soon as I give you some valuable information that can help your life, you turn around and use it against me. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not in the business of helping people trying to take me down, me personally. So my views are not the views of everybody else, but I need you to feel me on this one. Ain't y'all tired? And this is, you know, I'm talking about black people right now. Ain't y'all tired of every time you make a move, there's somebody there that looks like you to fuck your whole program up? You know what I'm saying? That's a big issue right now. Every time somebody's trying to make a way out of their situation and you see them making some headway, there's some ignorant motherfucker. That's not the word I really want to use, but due to the attendance in the studio tonight, gotta watch the way I'm using the N word. Cause I really want to get on y'all. I'm just tired of it. Like, you try to help people, try to make them a part of something, and then it's either them or the people around them that's hating on them. They don't, it's all of this. And people are so ignorant, don't know how things work, nothing. But you want to be this and that. You want to be seen. You want to be in the public eye. Hey, me, pay attention. I'm over here. Ah, 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 ah. Attention is a worse drug than crack. You got to get on the social media, this and that, just to be seen, or even for the ones who don't, all this ratchetness. You get tired of it. It's getting corny, man. Especially after you pass 40. Once you pass 40, you should be on to something else, like something more of a mature nature. You know what I mean? Like, we not little kids no more, man. And we got too many people who want to continue doing the same old hoopla. And when I say the same old, like, this is for the 40 and up people. Like, when you 25, 30, you still trying to get together, going out, party, do your thing. When we 40 and up, it's time to be trying to build a legacy. Most people are a grandparent or about to be a grandparent, stuff like that. You don't have to act old, but you gotta act your age, yo. For real. I'm tired of seeing old folk trying to be young. Like, you trying to do the stuff that you didn't get a chance to do when you was 19 and 20. It's over. It's a wrap. Knock it off. It don't look good. That's like, a 50-year-old cat still walking in the hood with his pants sagging down. That's not a good look. Or a 50-year-old woman with your ass out. You trying to look like a young girl with the multicolored hair on some Lil' Kim shit. That shit ain't cute, man. It ain't never is. And the people that's telling you that's cute, them some stupid motherfuckers, yo. They're not going to tell you nothing because either they don't know no better or they never been there themselves to say, this is the way it's supposed to go. Because, like the grandmas we had back in the 70s on back, they don't make them no more. The mothers and fathers, it ain't just, you got those that are trying to do their thing and they, but it ain't enough. It's too many people doing all this ratchetness. Now, the ratchet thing is getting out of hand, man. It's getting way out of hand. It's just like crazy right now. It don't make no sense. Like, why would you want to act like that? What's the point? So, let me get into some news. There's a lot of stuff going on tonight, man. There's a lot of stuff going on in the world. One of the first things I'm going to touch on, I got a video pulled up. We're going to deal with these sinkholes because we got the earthquakes happening in California. And we're going to pay a little bit attention to that tonight. And I got an assortment of other things. We're going to touch on a few different subjects tonight before 12 o'clock come in. We're going to touch on a few things. I'm going to give you some Dr. Sebi, give you some Bobby Hemmett, some Dr. Phil Valentine. You know what I'm saying? We're going to try to muster this thing up like why, it's the sign of the times. Whether you're a Christian and you believe in the Bible, or you a Muslim and you believe in the Quran, or you in the Judaism or whatever, you know what I mean? All these doctrines have so-called prophecies in them. And these things like the book of Revelation. In the Revelation, all these things that are happening now, it talks about it in that particular Bible verse. You know what I'm saying? The Bible chapter, I mean. So, and I'm just using that as a reference, a point of reference to where you can reference these things with the earthquakes and how so-called God's children are lost. They don't know who they are, so they're acting like their oppressor, mimicking their oppressor. So this is why a lot of things been out of order for so many years, even before our generations was born. It was a lot of things was out of whack. We were just born into a lot of out of whack stuff because we have unnatural forces running the planet. As you can see, it's a bunch of unnatural things that's going on. Some of these things are out of your hand. Ain't nothing you could do. It's just happening. Some of these things are Earth cycles or cycles of the galaxy. You know, certain things like the lunar eclipse, the solar eclipse, and all that. You know, these are occurrences that happen every so amount, 100 years, 1,000 years or so. And we just was lucky enough to be alive to experience some of this stuff. But at the same time, they all have a deeper meaning than just the physical, what we see with our physical eye. There are spiritual properties that come with that. Like when you had a blood moon, when you had a red moon and all of that. There are certain things that happen, you know, when there's a blood moon, you know, and it ain't all good. You know, people always want to look at want things to be good all the time without dealing with both polarities. It's a negative and positive. This is how you have positive and negative attraction. You know, a like and unlike can attract. You know what I'm saying? Just like a magnet. A magnet is attracted to something else, like a piece of metal that's not a magnet, but they still attract together. So we have to look into the sciences, man. And right now the earth is going through some stuff. Look like California about to be, and we got a lot of love for California because they listen to this station. I'm hearing myself in the headphones. What's going on? Hold up. What y'all got going on back there? What are you doing? Yo, you got the me playing back in the headphones. I can hear it in the headphones. Right now the earth is going through some stuff. Look like California about to be, and we got a lot of love for California because they listen to this station. I'm hearing myself in the headphones. What's going on? Hold up. Okay, back. Okay, this is what I'm gonna do. We just go get into these videos and cause you know the technical difficulty. We having a lot of technical difficulty, boy. I guess I'll just be talking too heavy, huh? Maybe everybody would like it if I were just stupid. And I just came up here and talked a whole bunch of dumb shit. Hey, look at that block over there. That block looks like it's talking to me. That piece of wood looks like it's very happy. I guess that's so people so fucking stupid now. Everybody want to be dumbed down. I'm not gonna dumb you down. And if you don't like to think, keep your motherfucking creepy ass away from me. I don't give a fuck. Like, yo, I'm into learning stuff, being up on things, all that staying in the dark and ignorant and being stupid on purpose just because you think it's cool or you don't want to be responsible for the knowledge that you know. But that's on you. I'm too old for that. So, you know, my circle's small anyway, so I don't really give a damn. Whoever look at this broadcast, know that you're going to learn something when you watching this show. I'm not going to feed you a bunch of bullshit all night long. You know what I'm saying? If that's what you like, go to one of them other channels. This is for the intelligent mind. If you ain't intelligent, get the fuck off this fucking program. Go somewhere else. And I mean it. Like, don't call in with that bullshit. I don't want to hear it. I'm not even going. I'm going to ignore you. If you want the calls or screen, even if you don't call, this night right here is not really designed for nobody calling, so I'm not concerned about that. Tonight is teach. When there's no guests, I always use that opportunity to teach and put you up on something. So the first thing we're going to get up on is the sinkholes. Man, there's a lot of sinkholes happening all around the planet, not just the United States. So, you know, this is like an eye-opener. You know, I think that, you know, a lot of places where they built residential area, where they built houses and how could I put this? Where they built residential areas on top of unstable ground. That's what I meant to say. And that's what's happening. Is a lot of terrain is unstable, and I think that the developers knew that way beforehand. Since everything is about money, making the dollar, these are the loopholes when you chasing money all the time. Because the people that chase money all the time, they don't give a fuck about quality. They just want quantity. So you got to imagine how much money was made in a lack of research of the developers putting these houses and highways and bridges and areas where they knew it was unsecure. So we're going to get into, So we're going to get into these sinkholes. Pull that video up, Rube. We're going to get into the sinkhole. This is like a 25-minute video. And these are sinkholes that was caught on tape. So you're going to see them as it's happening. You know what I mean? Some of the people just chilling and boom. Whole cars and stuff get swallowed by these holes. So this is a real thing going on. And it's not enough attention being paid to it. You know, social media is like with the latest thing that's happening. But after a while, maybe a couple weeks, it goes on to something else. Now, these sinkholes been an issue for some years now, and it hasn't stopped. It is not like, oh man, that happened a couple years ago, nobody had reports. It's still going on right now. It's just not that much news being put on it, because I guess they like, fuck it, it's the end times. We just gonna let this shit fall apart. So we got that video queued up, and I was eating the Chinese. Right back with you in about 25 minutes.
Number 15. If you're a car aficionado, the next video is going to be fairly painful to watch. This natural disaster occurred in February of 2014 at the National Corvette Museum in Bowling Green, Kentucky. 8 beautiful Corvettes are gleaming in the showroom when suddenly the entire floor starts to buckle. It's 5:38 in the morning and no one is around to do anything about it, although it doesn't seem like there is much that can be done. Mother Nature appears to have made up her mind, and today she wants some vintage Corvettes. Small holes start to form in the floor and dust chokes the room. One by one, all 8 cars fall down a newly created sinkhole that's 30 feet deep, 40 feet long and 60 feet wide. The designer vehicles are upside down in a heap of twisted metal in less than 1 minute. The museum was understandably closed for the rest of the day as they tried to sort things out. Fortunately, 5 of the 8 cars were able to be fully repaired. Unfortunately, the cost of repairs was well over $1 million, and that's not including damage to the showroom floor. Rather than scrap the last 3 cars, however, Corvette decided to proudly keep them on display for all to see. After all, one man's wreck is another man's treasure. As for the sinkhole itself, it was likely just an act of nature. Bowling Green is historically known for its vast networks of naturally formed underground caverns, as the Corvette company is now painfully aware of. Number 14. It's about midnight at a busy intersection in Guizhou Province, China, when a bus with brightly colored flowers painted on the side silently approaches its next stop. Everything appears to be running exactly according to schedule. That is, until the bus hangs a sharp left, at which point the thing becomes disastrously delayed. The bus's front wheels suddenly become snagged. It seems as though a small hole has opened up directly ahead. A pedestrian hears the bus abruptly stop. He turns around just in time to see the hole greatly widen and swallow the entire vehicle. Now only the back end of the bus is barely visible above the road's surface. The entire ordeal happens in less than a second, and it looks as though no one could have survived. Fortunately, there were only 3 people inside of the bus at the time: an unconscious driver and 2 stunned passengers. The driver absorbed the full force of the impact and had serious head injuries, but the passengers were only mildly wounded. They huddled together in the vertical vehicle until an emergency team can rescue them. It's a long wait as medical workers try to extract the victims from the natural disaster. Even though there isn't much time to waste, the team makes sure to move as cautiously and deliberately as possible. After all, just one false move could open the hole up even wider and spell the end for everyone, including them. By the end of it all, it takes another 40 minutes to rescue the passengers, and the bus itself is not extracted from the sinkhole for another 4 hours. Number 13. A man and a woman are getting off a bus in South Korea, shopping bags in hand. They take less than 10 steps into the station before the clean tile under their feet gives way and sends them plummeting below. A random sinkhole has struck again. It's a vicious 10-foot fall that takes them both to the hospital for minor injuries. Rescue workers had to use a crane and a safety harness to pull the injured couple free. Try as they may, investigators have never fully determined what caused the sinkhole to form. Number 12. This footage, captured by surveillance cameras outside of a noodle shop, shows 5 Chinese citizens patiently waiting for their bus to arrive. Little did they know that their ride would be delayed, but not for typical reasons. The 5 strangers shuffle about as multiple people pass them by. Then, without warning, the pavement beneath them suddenly crumbles under their combined weight, and they are crushed beneath a mixture of dirt and tiles. A large bus sign falls on top of the pile for added measure. Everyone is injured except for one woman with exceptionally quick reflexes. As the sinkhole swallows her alive, she grabs onto an exposed pipe at the last minute and prevents herself from falling in. She briefly looks down at the carnage in disbelief before climbing back out. A concerned crowd gathers around the rim of the hole so they can better survey the carnage. After a bit of deliberation, they tentatively reach in and begin freeing the victims one by one. According to news reports, the victims suffered injuries to their limbs, but nothing life-threatening. The exact cause of the sinkhole was never determined. Number 11. 2 11-year-old brothers named Lewis and Mackie are roughhousing one evening in a McDonald's parking lot in Rosedale, Maryland, when they make a curious discovery. The very ground they are standing on is light and bouncy, almost like a trampoline. The 2 boys are happily jumping up and down when the vicious sinkhole eats them both. Lewis and Mackie feel like they are falling down a narrow tunnel forever. They bounce off the walls like laundry down a chute, until finally they make a hard landing at the bottom. Both of them are now hurt and terribly scared, but they know that they have to try and get out if they ever want to see the light again. Mackie bravely grabs the firmest patch of soil he can and begins to try to hoist himself up. He doesn't weigh a lot, and it looks like the wall is actually going to hold as he steadily climbs towards the top. He is a good distance up when the dirt suddenly gives way and throws him all the way back down. He lands on his head. The poor child has a huge gash on the back of his head that will later require 3 staples to close at the hospital. But for now, escaping is all that matters. Adrenaline courses through him as Mackie makes another desperate attempt to climb out. This time, he tackles the 30-foot hole with twice as much gusto and manages to break free. He promises his brother that he will get help and promptly disappears from sight. Mackie's family is watching television in their living room when the injured child comes running inside, covered in dirt and blood. He explains what happened as they listen in disbelief. They've never heard of something like this before. Could the ground really just literally open up on him? Meanwhile, back at the McDonald's parking lot, a random stranger discovers Lewis when he hears muffled screams coming from a hole. He assures the kid that everything will be okay and runs off to call 911. It takes firefighters over 40 minutes to extract Lewis from the hole. They eventually climb down, hooking up to a harness, and safely lift him out. They suspect the hole was originally an abandoned well. McDonald's accepts that the sinkhole was on their property, but they have yet to accept actual responsibility. Before the accident, they had simply filled it up with some mulch. Now it's properly covered with a huge steel grate. Number 10. This harrowing footage comes from the city of Shenzhen, which is just outside of Hong Kong. A 25-year-old security guard named Yang Jiabin is on patrol when suddenly the city streets open underneath him. There is no time to get out of the way. He plummets 50 feet below. Call me morbid, but I can't help but wonder what exactly goes through Yang's mind as the world devours him whole. One moment he is ensuring the safety of those around him, and the next he himself is completely helpless. Bricks and a bus stop land on top of his unconscious body. The crowd is absolutely stunned. Brave bystanders now work together to save him. They're willing to risk their own lives as they descend the pit and claw away at the wreckage. They finally manage to free Yang from his tomb, but by the time paramedics arrive, it's too late. Despite their best attempts, the young security guard has already perished. City officials believe that heavy rains may have caused the pipes to burst and wash away the soil. Either way, the footage left behind shows that sinkholes can happen at a moment's notice, and even in cities that are seemingly well developed. So, the next time a 16 by 50 foot pit opens up in front of you out of nowhere, don't say that Yang and I didn't give you a fair warning first. It does happen, and you could be next. Number 9. Deputy Dora Linda is driving across a barren stretch of road in Bexar County, Texas, when the asphalt suddenly rips open beneath her tires. She has driven onto a weakened part of the road, and now she's falling at a high rate into darkness. Her car flips completely upside down as it plummets 20 feet into the murky waters below. The dark waters may have broken her fall, but now it's pouring into the interior of her car. To make matters worse, this is no ordinary groundwater. To her horror, the poor deputy now finds herself totally submerged in raw sewage. The fetid fluid washes all around her and invades her mouth and nose. Her vehicle is still completely overturned, which means that there is no way to escape as the overwhelming stench takes over her senses. She struggles to take one last gasp for breath and receives a lungful of toxic waste instead. It's a horrible way to go. While her tragedy unfolds, another man is finding salvation. He was driving in the other lane when the sinkhole formed, and he, too, landed in the putrid pile. However, when another civilian sees the accident and rushes in to help, he manages to live another day. Dora, meanwhile, tragically expires. As usual, a broken pipe is to blame. The 54-inch pipe burst one day and washed away the soil beneath the road. As sad as it may be, the accident was just waiting to happen eventually. It really makes you wonder how many other patches of road are out there right now going through the same thing. Please, drive safely. Number 8. A 20-inch pipe caused well over 24 hours of problems for residents in Baltimore County, Maryland, many of whom were left without running water for an extended period of time. On June 20th of 2016, sometime past midnight, a massive underground water pipe burst open. This water pipe happened to be underneath a major roadway, and the gushing flood of water that ensued was enough to displace the soil, causing a gigantic sinkhole to form. By the time the road had finished collapsing, the sinkhole was over 1 full car lane wide. Baltimore County officials were now left with a midnight crisis to deal with. Aside from having a ton of infrastructural damage to the roads, the surrounding communities were now left without water as well. The pipe supplied water to 2 major water towers, both of which were now rapidly depleting. Crews from the Department of Public Works scrambled to refill the towers with water from nearby Towson reservoirs. In the meantime, Baltimore County officials went door to door to deliver water to impacted areas. They also opened the Baltimore County Fire Department Station 17 to the general public, so that they could fill up their own containers with as much water as needed. Finally, officials brought bottled water to nearby retirement home residents to help those who were unable to help themselves. As for the roads, the extensive damage took more than 1 full week to repair. Overall, everyone considered themselves lucky that the collapse had happened in the middle of the night. Had the roads given way during peak hours, countless lives would have undoubtedly been lost in the wreckage below. Number 7. Looking at the photos and footage of this massive sinkhole in Harbor, Oregon, it's hard to imagine how something so large could have started out so small. Truth be told though, this dangerous pit was originally no wider than the size of a volleyball, and it was only 7 feet deep too. When Kyle Rice learned that a huge sinkhole had opened up nearby, he saw it as the perfect opportunity to get some aerial footage with his drone. As he piloted the camera high into the sky, he was amazed to discover just how large the hole was. Its 60-foot diameter made it the biggest sinkhole that the state had seen since 1996, and it was still growing. 2 months earlier, heavy rains had caused a buildup of water underground. The saturated soil soon gave way to a small sinkhole that would silently spread without notice. When another rainstorm struck in February, it triggered a landslide that would take out almost 4 lanes of a highway. The damage took weeks for the city of Harbor to repair. No one was hurt, but the next time a monster sinkhole crops up in Oregon, and believe me, there will be a next time, not everyone is guaranteed to be so safe. Number 6. In the summer of 2016, downtown Ottawa was almost completely restructured, and not by a government-approved program, but rather a gigantic sinkhole. It was about 10:30 in the morning when the sinkhole first appeared at a light rail construction site. The hole was only in its infant stages, yet large enough to swallow a family van without a problem. The hole soon grew larger and larger until it stretched across 4 highway lanes and threatened to collapse all nearby buildings, including a major shopping center. The entire tourist district was at stake. The area was effectively shut down as city workers frantically pumped concrete into the sinkhole to protect the foundation of the surrounding buildings. Meanwhile, all nearby businesses were evacuated, and everyone was strongly advised to stay completely away from the downtown area in case more sinkholes unexpectedly popped up. What truly separates this sinkhole from the rest, however, is that this time, getting blown up was as likely as going down. The chaotic scene was soon punctuated by a bitter odor and a high-pitched whistling noise. The sinkhole had severed a major gas line. To Ottawa's credit, the city's quick emergency response is what kept this from easily turning into one of Canada's worst national tragedies. No one was harmed. Massive property damage aside, this could have been far worse. Number 5. On November 8th, 2016, a devastating sinkhole rocked the Japanese city of Fukuoka at 5 in the morning. Residents heard a huge crash and looked out their window to see traffic lights, power lines, and large chunks of street and sidewalk all falling into an endless black abyss. The sinkhole was 50 feet deep and about 100 feet wide. It stopped at the edge of large buildings, which could topple below at any moment. As the world crumbled around them, businesses and homes were left with no power or working phone lines for days. Gas leaks filled the air with dangerous toxins and posed an additional explosive threat. Fortunately, since the accident happened in the early morning, no one was hurt. Nonetheless, almost 5 lanes of highway were lost. Japanese emergency crews aggressively went to work to repair the extensive damage. Amazingly, the massive project took only 2 days to fully repair. They would have reopened the roads on the 3rd day, but safety inspections delayed them for another 4. 2,000 trucks, each loaded with a special soil that was mixed with quick-drying cement, quickly filled up the hole. Looking at the side-by-side comparison pictures, you'd never notice that anything was wrong. In fact, the city's mayor said that they rebuilt the infrastructure better than ever, 30 times stronger, according to him. "We're very sorry for causing great trouble," the mayor politely added. Number 4. This sinkhole is what's left of an old ore mine in Solikamsk, Russia. What exactly caused it to form in 1995 depends on who you ask. Many of the residents say that the mine simply collapsed, but the official explanation from the mining company is that an earthquake caused the mine to flood. Either way, there's now a humongous sinkhole on the edge of town, and guess what? It's growing larger by the day. As of November 2014, the sinkhole was only 60 feet wide and 100 feet deep. 1 year later, however, the sinkhole had increased to a depth and width of more than 400 feet. At this rate, it's logical to think that the sinkhole could be pushing 1,000 feet by now. Let's just put it this way. It's so big, you can literally see this sinkhole from space. You can probably guess that the nearby locals are pretty scared at this point, and for good reason too. There's a second mine that is still connected to the one that collapsed. Russian authorities have assured the town that everything will be okay, but the locals are fairly sure they've all been bribed by the mining company. As such, they're just waiting for the day that the second mine collapses and ends them all. What a happy existence. Number 3. On August 11th, 2015, an underground tunnel in Dongguan, China, slowly started to collapse from heavy rains. Not many people noticed the problem until the next day, when a giant hole threatened to kill them all. The tunnel was already under construction when things went awry. Huge sections of the street soon started to break away, exposing the foundation of buildings as pipes shattered and sprayed gas and water into the wreckage. Countless pedestrians were near the construction site when the collapse happened. They all managed to get out of the way except for one construction worker who was sadly busy working on the ground. A car also fell into the sinkhole, but no one was inside. To make matters worse, this is far from the first time that Dongguan has experienced such an event. In fact, the very same road has collapsed no less than 4 times in the past 3 years, each time worse than the last. This time the sinkhole managed to reach more than 3,000 feet before being feebly filled with cement. It's hard to say exactly how much longer it will be before the next disaster strikes, but based on the road's track record, it seems likely to happen at least one more time. Number 2. Here's an example of what can happen when a city doesn't properly maintain its sewer systems. In 2007, a small, impoverished neighborhood in Guatemala City became the site of a rather repulsive underground catastrophe. The disgusting disaster struck just before dawn, and while it definitely classifies as a massive sinkhole, perhaps a stinkhole more aptly describes it. For about a month leading up to the event, the local slums had been rocked by tremors and loud noises underfoot. Nobody was sure what was happening at the time, but early one morning, their answer revealed itself in the form of a 330-foot deep sinkhole leading all the way down to the sewers. It was essentially a gigantic open sewer line, and the rotten smell that poured forth was sickening. The giant sewer pit was large enough to swallow 12 houses whole, along with at least 3 people who fell roughly 30 stories to their horrible deaths, where they were lost among a rushing stream of sewage and putrid debris. Police, meanwhile, set up a 500-foot perimeter around the sinkhole and evacuated over 1,000 people from their homes. A simple clogged pipe is to blame. It eventually burst open and displaced the surrounding soil with a river of rushing sewage, causing an empty cavity to form beneath the city, which soon collapsed. Even though Guatemalan officials knew about the problem well in advance, they failed to act quickly enough. Now, you'd think they would learn from their lesson from all of this? But 3 years later, history would repeat itself in the same general neighborhood, and this time, things would turn out much, much worse. In 2010, a volcanic eruption released an abundance of ash into the air, and much of this ash ended up in the sewage drainage system, where it clogged the pipes and raised the water pressure to dangerous levels. This, combined with a massive tropical storm that struck roughly around the same time, created the perfect conditions for yet another burst pipe, and, of course, another sinkhole shortly after. This time, the sinkhole was 60 feet wide and swallowed a large clothing factory. Dozens of people are suspected to have fallen 300 feet to their doom, though the exact numbers are obscured. You see, this was during a time of terrible weather and mass evacuations. Over 125,000 Guatemalans were displaced, and over 100 more are thought to have been killed in landslides throughout the country. In all of the ensuing chaos, keeping an exact tally was difficult for city officials to do, as they were simply too busy trying to survive at the moment. Number 1. In 2013, Jeremy Bush returned to his Florida home after a long day's work. He shared the house with his brother, and the two normally worked a second job together. Jeremy's manager, however, had told him that he didn't have to come in today. He relayed the news to his brother and then went into his own room for the night. It was the last exchange they would ever share. A short while later, Jeremy heard his brother screaming from the bedroom. Jeremy leaped to his feet and rushed into his brother's room to see what was wrong. There was nothing left of his brother's room except for a mattress sticking halfway out of a freshly created hole that had already filled itself with dirt. Thinking fast, Jeremy jumped into the hole with a shovel and started frantically digging the dirt away. To this day, he swears he could hear his brother crying for help. Jeremy dug and dug for an eternity, not even thinking twice about his own safety. He wouldn't stop digging even after the police came to remove him from the home, which could collapse at any minute. He still holds himself personally responsible for not rescuing his brother to this day. A rescue team soon arrived. They tried to use thermal technology to detect a heat signature in the rubble to better locate his brother. When they couldn't find one, they knew that the worst had happened. Jeremy's brother was no more. To make matters worse, not even a full team of city contractors could recover the body. The best they could do was load up a crane with offerings from friends and family and slowly lower the items into the sinkhole that had cut his life short. The home was demolished, along with a few other surrounding houses that had been declared unsafe. 2 years later, another sinkhole opened up on the exact same property that Jeremy and his brother used to live on. Fortunately, the government had bought the land and fenced it off just for this very purpose. Still, the new sinkhole opened terrible memories that Jeremy wished could have simply been left buried for good. Hey there, are you a fan of horror stories? Because I've got horror stories. Oh my god, I've got a lot of horror stories. And you can find all of them over at my YouTube channel, which you can find in the description below, or there's probably something on the page you can click, because these guys are really good editors. Now, let's get on with it, shall we?
Alright. That was the sick hole. Man, that's messed up. That was crazy right there. One minute you could be just chilling, next thing you could be falling through a hole somewhere. Whew. That was pretty crazy. Alright. The next thing we're going to talk about, well, I'm going to show, is going to be concerning city violence. Why city violence instead of country violence? Because it's something about building tall buildings and push together homes and row homes and stuff like that, that just projects and all that type of stuff that just tend to make people more crazier in the inner city than it is in the country. And there's some crazy people in the country too, but when you stack together like that, there's going to be robberies, there's going to be rape, there's going to be whatever type of crime, you know what I'm saying, that you can muster up. It's going to be there because everybody is not well off like maybe their neighbor is. And they want the same thing that their neighbor has. If the neighbor get a new bike, they want a new bike. If the neighbor get a new car, they want a new car. If they get some new clothes, they want some new clothes. But everybody don't want to work for it. So most people are just going to take it. So we're going to find a video that reflects that. Let me see. Where was I at? I was on this day. Then I'm trying to find my little sound card to play my background music, and everything just is gone. Can't find nothing. It's just gone. Crazy, man. I had it plugged in and had everything ready to go, and this thing just does what it want to do. I swear, man. I tell you, boy. I think that all the phones, all the pieces of technology that has any internet connection is tapped. Believe that. So whatever you're doing in your phone or whatever, just know that there's probably somebody else on the other line paying attention to what you're doing. So you can't be ashamed of nothing you do. They say what you do in the dark will come to the light. And I think that's not just like, oh, just a spiritual thing. I think that meant that literally, like, whatever you do in your privacy, it's like actually being filmed by your front face camera and your back face camera on your phones and whatever else technology you got in the house that has a camera on it and microphones. And you know, they already said with the smart TVs, even before smart TVs, with the fiber optics alone, they were able to watch you through the TV screen. So it is what it is, man. You know, you gotta kind of like, you know, just be prepared or just make sure you don't do certain things. See, every time you forget to turn my background music on, man. Whew. But you know, it is what it is. So I'm gonna go in here and see what videos we got. You know what I mean? But could I get my background music while I check out the video? I'll be right back. All right. Hope y'all enjoyed some MUNK music while I was gone. But gotta get the video right. So this next clip is actually from, I think it's that Gangland thing, because I wanted to show y'all, like, for people who didn't see this already when it came out, it was like one of the most viewed videos from the Discovery Channel. And it was about Trenton, New Jersey, where we live at. So we're going to play this video because it signifies the issues with the city. Why the violence the way it is? Because it's what people embrace. Not everybody, but a lot of youth embrace this. And you know, since this video aired on national TV, there are a lot of people who died since then. This was some years back, you know. But there's a lot of people who not here, and a lot of people in this video. If this is the Gangland video, a lot of people that were in that video is not alive no more, man. I just like people praising death and murder and all that type of stuff. When I say praising, like you going to church praising, it's the fact that you giving energy to that stuff. You know what I mean? When really, if you who wants to get shot up and die, it always sound good till you actually get shot and you feel the pain from that hot lead burning the hell out you. You're gonna be squirming and everything, depending on where you got hit at, you're gonna be squirming till you die, man. What kind of dream is that? And or the prison thing. Everybody, you know, I done heard cats say, oh man, I could do 10 years on my tippy toes. Yeah, you're going to be on your tippy toes all right. You know, people don't think about the stuff that can happen to you while you're doing your time. It's never as easy as just going to sit in your cell, eat your 3 meals a day, and do your time. It's never that. It's always you have to fight this person. Somebody want what you have. Somebody's going to take your lunch or your breakfast or your shoes you got on your feet or other stuff. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just going to give you, before because I don't know if I'm going to play this whole video, but play some of it, because I did want to, you know, just don't want to focus on one thing. I got to give you some science too to top it off, you know, because you got to understand, yeah, things have its place, but a lot of things are misplaced, such as, you know, if you're supposed to be doing good in your neighborhood and you're part of something that's the doctrine for that particular group that you join, then if you're not fulfilling what the original purpose is, you've strayed away. And when things happen to you, it's kind of like the wicked shall perish in their own iniquity. Meaning that if you're doing wicked stuff and you think you're getting away with something, you yourself are going to perish in your own wickedness. And a human doesn't even have to do it. You're always worried about humans doing things. Every wicked thing that you do has a natural punishment that comes with it. That's scientific. This is science. When you go against nature, nature goes against you. Cut your life short. I mean, no matter what it is. And this ain't to be on no biblical stuff or Islamic stuff. It's just real. It's just if you go against nature, this is what happens. So, we're going to get into this right now. And you got that video queued up? All right, run that video. I'll be right back with you on the Monk Show.
This program contains graphic material, including offensive language. Viewer discretion is advised. New Jersey is under siege.
All we do is pull the trigger. That's that murder.
By a ruthless gang.
They're saying sex, money, murder. Sex I get, money I make, murder I commit.
They flash cash.
The best clothes, the best cars, the most amount of jewelry got the girls that had the most respect.
We got a pride. Our big dog got a swag that can't be broken.
And deal in death.
Killings, shootings, all kinds of shit. It started popping off.
They are sex, money, murder.
It was like Baghdad. You better had came outside with your gun.
Trenton, New Jersey. This blue-collar city was once known by the slogan, "What Trenton makes, the world takes." But today, the city's unemployment rate is 17%, among the highest in the state.
Trenton makes, the world takes. It don't mean to me. Like, it's just the bridge. Since I've been born, they ain't make
Drug dealing has replaced manufacturing as the primary industry.
Heroin, crack cocaine, and marijuana are your big money makers out there. And they're also selling PCP. It's all about drugs.
The most notorious dealers in Trenton are sex, money, murder, SMM.
Either get down or lay down. Either you get down with the gang or you're not going to be selling.
SMM isn't satisfied with just dealing. They want to own the trade, and they'll kill anyone who gets in their way.
Sex, money, murder likes to take it to the next level.
Sex, money, murder sells heroin, marijuana, crack, and cocaine, and has turned dealing into an illegal empire.
The Trenton sex, money, murder set is different. It was able to generate enough income through narcotic sales that they're able to resist outside trends and outside leadership.
35-year-old Bernard Porter, aka OG Byrne, is a leader of sex, money, murder. His body tells the story of the streets of Trenton.
I got an ace of spades on this side of my neck. Got that when I was kind of young too, when I first started shooting that. And I got 3 teardrops. If they not for no bodies, they're actually for lost loved ones. Trenton on my back.
Byrne grew up in one of the roughest hoods in the city.
You know, bad boys, bad girls, crackheads, you know. Everybody wanted the same thing, money, clothes, and hoes.
He knew he had to be tough to get respect. Byrne was just 14 when he stole his grandfather's gun to settle a dispute at school.
I got beat up by this grown man down in junior high school. And he had me so mad because he embarrassed me in front of everybody. I pulled the gun out, tried to shoot at him. The first shot went off, but after that, the clip just fell out. I ain't shoot him or nothing, he just ran.
Byrne liked the authority the gun provided.
The power that the gun had, like that type of control, it was like getting high. It was like a rush, like, you know. All I need is this ratchet.
By 25, he wanted more, and only one gang could deliver.
Sex, money, murder, the name stood for itself. It was really just a money gang. Like, that's what they was about at the end of the day. That money, that bread.
Attitude has made Sex, Money, Murder the fastest growing gang in Trenton.
And you sex, money, murder, you got free things from the weed, man. You got all the girls, your name ring bells, you could go anywhere because of that reason.
We have females all around us, you know, money all around us, jewelry, the life.
34-year-old Early Harrell has been a member of Sex, Money, Murder for 8 years. Harrell changed his name to Almighty Blood Messiah to show his allegiance to the gang.
The Almighty Blood Messiah, you know, that's my name, that's my handle, that's my job, that's everything, you know.
He joined Sex, Money, Murder in jail The gang's leaders schooled him on the life of SMM.
Like they was telling me that you have to study the law. You have to be 95% mental, 15% physical. You got to get out of here because you got to paint the town red.
When Messiah got out of jail, he returned to Trenton with a mission.
That's when I started my breeding process.
He had no trouble finding recruits.
A young person in Trenton, New Jersey, why would he join a gang? Why not? If he walk out the door, that's all he see. You know what I mean? Either gangs, drug dealing. If you're selling drugs, you better be part of the gang.
500 members strong, SMM has become the largest gang in Trenton, making countless enemies along the way. The only gang brutal enough to take them on face to face is the gangsta Killer Bloods, known as G-Shine.
Sex, Money, Murder, and G-Shine comprised of the most members, so naturally there's gonna be a conflict.
If you were in Sex, Money, Murder, you were making money. You controlled all the best drug turf, and G-Shine started to, I guess, resent that.
The war between Sex, Money, Murder, and G-Shine has raged for years.
Like, you know, they were shooting every day, and it got real bad to the point where people were shooting in broad daylight.
In 2006, one act of reckless violence would cross the line and throw the city of Trenton into a tailspin. March 29th, West Trenton. 23-year-old Sex, Money, Murder member Reginald Jackson, aka Hamburger, decided to take the fight to G-Shine.
We up, stock them out, shoot them out, all types of
He collected 130 single-dollar bills and drove to the rival hood, where he started tossing money out of his car. Hamburger paused to make sure his rivals saw who was disrespecting them.
And he drives through the neighborhood throwing these singles and just throwing money at them, which insulted them, obviously.
G-Shine wanted revenge. 2 days later, they loaded into a pickup truck and headed for SMM territory.
Driving past projects where Sex, Money, Murder hangs out, pickup truck is being driven by what they believe is a G-Shine member.
When Sex, Money, Murder saw their rivals, they didn't hesitate, lighting up the street with a hail of gunfire. One of the bullets missed its target and careened across the street.
And not looking to see that Tajanique Lee, this little 7-year-old girl who was enjoying the day riding her bicycle.
911, where's the emergency?
Yes, 209 building. The little girl, it's a little girl. They got shot. She downstairs.
How little is the girl, baby?
Oh, she like 5.
She like 5. That's a 5-year-old that got shot over here on Kool-Aid.
That flipped everything in the city in terms of raising up the volume.
You break rules, you gotta get dealt with. You gotta get disciplined.
Trenton, New Jersey. The 609 was once famous for making the iron, rubber, and steel used to build America.
Trenton was a manufacturing town. I mean, Roebling Steel and the steel mills that were here.
But those industries are gone. Today, drugs are the business of these streets. And the gang calling the shots is Sex, Money, Murder.
Sex, Money, Murder was about the drug dealers. They were the guys that were selling crack cocaine and marijuana.
We was like, we had it all. Money, bitches, we had blocks, we had everything we wanted. everything.
Sex Money Murder was formed 80 miles northeast at the Soundview Houses in the Bronx, New York. Soundview was notorious for poverty, crime, and drug sales. SMM's founder, Peter Rolak, aka Pistol Pete, called these projects home. Pistol Pete got his nickname because he shot first and asked questions later. Dwight Blackney, aka Star Money, grew up with Pete and says he was like a celebrity in Soundview.
He was above your average person. That's how people saw him. He seemed to glow more than your average person.
Pistol Pete assembled his homies and set out to make a name for his hood.
If your area is not heard of, or your group is not heard of, then you can't go nowhere else in the Bronx.
Pistol Pete based the gang's name on a song from the movie Juice.
Some of the words had something to do with get money from crack, get, sex from a woman. So he was like, all right, well, we gonna be the Sex Money Murder Boys. We Sex Money Murder.
Pistol Pete wanted to rise above everyone else.
He required the same from his crew.
Word came down through him that if any crimes, any drugs, it would always be a level above everyone else to set them apart.
Pistol Pete taught his crew to be ultra-violent and even encouraged something he called the wet t-shirt contest.
The wet t-shirt contest is to see how bad you can slice, stab, gouge somebody, shoot them as many times as you want. If you can soak the whole t-shirt in blood, now you're being accepted by Pistol Pete and the followers.
His reputation was raw, it was gangster. He was, big time drug dealer, highly feared amongst all kinds of other drug dealers.
In 1995, Pistol Pete was sentenced to 8 months on a weapons charge. He was sent to New York City Jail on Rikers Island. There, he met Omar Porti, aka OG Mac, who had recently formed the United Blood Nation. Mac asked Pistol Pete to bring Sex Money Murder into the nation. Pete agreed with one condition. Sex Money Murder would remain an independent set, and Pistol Pete would remain its leader.
He had built this very large violent gang, and there was no reason for him to give that up.
Pistol Pete continued to lead Sex Money Murder from behind bars. But federal authorities were working on a racketeering indictment against him. Pete wasn't about to be snitched on. November 27th, 1997, the Bronx, New York. Neighbors had gathered for an annual Thanksgiving tradition.
It was an annual football game between the two housing projects, kind of bringing the community together.
Just after halftime, a group of men walked up and unloaded a dozen shots on the field. 2 men were killed, including a member of SMM. The feds intercepted coded messages from jail and charged Pistol Pete with ordering the hits.
From the time he got originally arrested to the time that football game had occurred, he still has powerful street creds.
On November 8th, 2000, Pistol Pete was sentenced to life plus 105 years. The judge made sure there was no possibility of parole and limited Pete's contact with the outside world. Pistol Pete instantly became a martyr.
feet up.
They're oathing themselves to their casket drop to their death. And in the name of Pete, I rise. It's like their demigod.
He was gangster to me the most when he was able to stand down and take 105 years plus life. That's super gangster.
Man, you gotta represent for Pete.
When you have people from other gangs looking at Sex Money Murder like, I want to be Sex Money Murder, man. Everything else.
In 2001, Messiah was serving jail time at Passaic County Jail in New Jersey for drug possession. He heard about Pete's reputation and decided to join the gang.
For a young cat to have that kind of respect in New York City, let alone everywhere else, that had these people from all over not only afraid, but respectably afraid.
And another new leader was emerging on the streets of Trenton. 27-year-old Bernard Porter, AKA OG Byrne.
He's very soft-spoken. He's actually shorter than you would expect from hearing all the legends about him, but he was a boxer. He had that reputation. He could defend himself. He could take care of business.
The basic thing to do was to get these to unite, to get everybody up under one line. That way, everybody on the same page. Nobody get treated unfairly.
SMM began to thrive.
We got everything running right. Wasn't on no bullshit. We had lawyer money. We'll make sure they had a couple of hours in their pocket, get their hustle together, whatever the case may be. Protect yourself if you need a gun.
By 2004, Sex Money Murder had more than 100 members in Trenton, making them the biggest gang in the city. Quietly, they began working to take over the city's drug territory.
The whole Bloods gang thing was very under wraps, and nobody was flagging their colors. They weren't doing the graffiti for the Bloods. They were just working together cooperatively.
To the officials and the politicians in the city of Trenton, there was no gang problem.
That changed in March 2004, when Sean Barr, AKA Denver Lane, was gunned down in a local park.
Sean Barr was kind of a larger-than-life kind of guy. You heard his name a lot associated with the Bloods.
Denver Lane had served in the U.S. Navy. His murder shocked the city of Trenton.
Immediately after he was killed, the entire perimeter of the park, the entire sidewalk, was tagged up with Bloods graffiti. That was the flashpoint for the Bloods gang in the city of Trenton.
Trenton PD announced a plan to monitor the funeral. Sex Money Murder was furious at the sudden police scrutiny.
They was talking about coming to the funeral with riot gear. You know, we like, riot gear? Y'all can't be serious. Like, let that boy family mourn him.
OG Byrne did the unthinkable, calling a face-to-face meeting with Trenton officials.
Bernard Porter was already the established leader of the Sex Money Murder Bloods. He owned it, and then he started to try to wield it, almost like a political power, to say, okay, this is who we are. We have this much manpower. One of our soldiers was killed, and we're gonna stand up and we're gonna honor him, and you're not gonna interfere when we do this.
OG Byrne's announcement made headlines. On April 6th, the gang dressed in red. Tossing hand signs, they flooded Denver Lane's funeral, pledging their allegiance.
We had the guys come up fully dressed in all red. It was an amazing sight for us to see this.
There was over 1,000 Bloods at that funeral. We all went in, paid our respects. The family let us do our own little thing. We surrounded the casket, filled it up with red bandanas. We just, you know, busting our guns, letting them know that the love was there.
When it was time for the casket to be carried to the exit, the original pallbearers were pushed aside.
Now, he had an American flag over his casket because he was a former Navy officer. And all this media is here. They saw this display, this unity, these guys wearing their colors with the American flag.
And it was only the beginning.
That day catapulted everything to the next level.
Every single street in Trenton had Bloods on it, like literally.
Any given notice, we could just have 400 or 500 homies out in the street shooting up for nothing.
Trenton, New Jersey. T-Town sits between New York City and Philly, making it the perfect hub for the drug trade in the Northeast. And sex, money, murder rules the area. The gang is known as the #1 money getters, and they flaunt their power.
These dudes were already like gangsters in the hood. When you put it all that together, that was just like, you know, everybody wanted to be around.
Sex, Money, Murder pledges allegiance to its infamous founder, Pistol Pete.
Pistol Pete would be the godfather. He's the ultimate leader.
In order to be a sex, money, murder, blood, yeah, you still gotta come under Pete.
Either you beat up or you get beat up, man.
The gang's graffiti is a testament to its Bronx, New York roots.
252 is very big with sex, money, murder. 252 represented the building in Soundview. SMM, you'll see Murder Gang or Murda Gang.
Sex, Money, Murder uses numbers and code words to communicate.
The words change, like go get the ratchets, lock and load, train to go. And that meant they were packing and ready to go out and do what they had to do.
The gang uses the sound of bullets as a warning to victims.
Throw them guns up. Where them guns is at?
They also represent with different hand signs.
This is how you throw sex, money, murder up. This is one of our gang signs, so you know blood rules like this.
That's the double P's, Pistol Pete. And this is sex, money, murder. We have a handshake. You know, everywhere you go, they got a way they piece. Each set has one, you know what I mean? We piece probably longer than anybody. We have hours that we started out with, and then we have from all of the places that we traveled to. So we've incorporated most of those into one handshake, you know what I mean? And it look fly too.
SMM flies the colors red and green.
Sex, money, murder was simply about money, and the green represented money.
A few years ago, it was Sex, Money, Murder's birthday. It was June 6th of 2006. Color of the day was green. Every place that we went into the city, every neighborhood that was affiliated with them, they were wearing green bandanas.
Sex, Money, Murder follows the laws of the United Blood Nation, or UBN.
They pretty much follow the bylaws, which is basically to know these histories, the original founding OGs, what they were in jail for, who was murdered by what set, and then the general 31 rules.
The 13th rule forbids them from talking about gang laws.
I can't give you the specific rules that are the ones you have to follow. I can't do that, but all 31 rules ought to be followed strictly, you know, if you're going to be a blood.
There's also a law that forbids fighting within the gang.
And that's one of the rules. There's no set tripping. But at the same time, you're going to defend yourself. You know what I mean?
The word Bloods stands for brotherly love overriding oppression and destruction of society.
To me, that means a stand-up dude handling his business, you know what I mean? Taking care of your community, providing for your community, not just, you know, being a gang, but all together for a common purpose.
They use a lot of that philosophy, telling them about all the good things about the gang, being part of the community, we'll have your back. You know, by the way, here's a gun. I want you to go down there and shoot your neighbor.
Sex, Money, Murder follows a military ranking system.
They have to follow the structure. They have to listen to orders that is handed down from the OGs to the shot callers, right down through the ranks.
Members rise through the ranks by performing acts known as stain. Stain can be earned by committing a crime or act of violence. The gang claims the symbol of the 5-pointed star. The 5 points stand for body, unity, love, lust, and soul.
So we all had that one bond and unity because, you know, we popped that 5.
Most of their rivals use a 6-pointed star. Sex, Money, Murder has a saying, 5 poppin', 6 droppin'.
This, I'm gonna say 5 popping, 6 dropping. It's like a little blood slang. It's like a disrespectful term. And this is what, you know, Bloods live by, 5 popping.
SMM members sear 3 dots into their skin, forming a dog paw to show they're down.
The dog paw is 3 burns up here on their arms, like a branding, and it represents dogs as they refer to themselves, the Bloods.
Getting into Sex, Money, Murder is all about being willing to do anything to make money.
You're gonna sling your drug, kill your rival gang members, and protect your hood.
Some people worked, some people sold drugs, some people robbed people. There was no set status of how you go get your money.
New recruits must pass tests to prove their loyalty. The first test is a 31-second beating.
And 31-second beatdowns they can be real severe. You know what I mean? And 31 seconds take a long, long time when somebody's beating your ass.
The beatdown is worth it to SMM members.
They surrounded me, you know what I mean? And that was a true test of courage. But I just wanted to continue more and more. I wanted it to be over so I could show them and I could actually begin my duties.
By 2004, Sex, Money, Murder was growing quickly. And Trenton PD started to see mass initiations.
We were running to initiations where we'd find hundreds of individuals in either the projects, on the canal beds, railroad tracks, or whatever. And it wasn't our typical street fight. And it would be multiple individuals getting beaten at a time.
Everything just took a turn. Next thing you know, it's had its way out of control.
Trenton, New Jersey, 2004. The funeral of Sean Barr, aka Denver Lane, forced the city to address that hundreds of young African Americans were joining gangs.
In 2004, all of the blood stuff was really taking over Trenton as far as like the drug trade and territory is concerned.
The violence between sets began escalating.
They split out from the different neighborhoods and they started to fight over turf.
People started turning on each other for little issues. It's like a Cowboys and Indians mentality. When you run out of Indians to kill, you gotta kill the Cowboys.
Tensions erupted on May 10th, 2005, known as Bloody Tuesday. Trenton PD reported 12 separate gang-related shootings in 24 hours.
Our crime scene units were stretched to the max because we had so many multiple shooting areas. Daytime shootouts, cars are being hit, houses are being hit. It was just blatant. Where we weren't, they were. And this went on all day long.
It was just back-to-back shootings constantly. Just war after war, all over.
Sex, Money, Murder stayed above the fray under the leadership of Bernard Porter, aka OG Byrne.
He didn't have to resort to violence to keep his underlings in line.
Byrne stayed focused on getting even richer.
We had our own little thing going on, and we did what we did, which was get money.
Sex Money Murder began looking to expand its drug enterprise.
We said very much business-oriented, business-minded, and that's the way they worked it, and that's the way they ran it.
SMM decided to cut out the middlemen and buy directly from major suppliers. Byrne turned to his longtime friend, 24-year-old Omar Akins, aka Little O. Little O ran $1 million cocaine business, transporting product from Houston to Sex Money Murder in Trenton.
The thing with Omar was that he wasn't in the street. What Omar did was he made a very good living selling drugs. He spread out into legitimate businesses. He owned a jewelry company. He owned a motorcycle racing team.
In exchange for his lucrative contacts, Little O would be given a position of high status.
Omar, by virtue of being friends with the OG, buys his way into Sex Money Murder at the rank of capo.
The deal was sealed. SMM already controlled the most lucrative drug territory. Now, the city's biggest supplier was helping run the gang. But SMM's rival, G-Shine, wasn't about to be left out.
Sex Money Murder had a lot of the major hustlers in town. So, you know, Shine was really trying to recruit a lot of the money getters too. So it was like neck and neck. Murder and Shine, murder and Shine.
Sex Money Murder, we had that distinct prestige about us that other sets wanted, so that made jealousy and envy come around.
Word spread that Little O had bought his status in the gang.
There was a lot of resentment from these Bloods who were soldiers who were actually putting in work, which then started to bring into question OG Byrne's ability to run that set, because Omar didn't deserve his status because he wouldn't even bust a gun, which is the term they used. He wouldn't even shoot somebody for the gang.
Other leaders of Sex Money Murder laid down the law. Omar needed to put in work if he wanted to keep his rank.
They wanted him to shoot somebody to prove that he was man enough to bust a gun.
Little O selected his victim, a New York gangbanger who was hiding out in Trenton. On July 27th, Omar and 2 other members of SMM lured the New York gangster to a remote area near a canal.
And what they're actually doing is conspiring to kill him. This is going to be Omar's kill. This is going to be Omar's proof that he's a gangster.
On the bridge of the canal, Omar shot the gangster 4 times with a .22 caliber handgun. Trenton police say 4 prominent members of Sex Money Murder were watching from a distance. One of them was OG Byrne. What none of them knew was that Trenton authorities had been conducting surveillance on Sex Money Murder for months. They were working to bring down the gang's drug suppliers, and one person was at the top of their list.
We knew that all the gangs were making their money through narcotic sales. Eventually, the target was decided on that it was going to be Omar Akins.
Wiretaps on Omar's phone revealed the plot to kill the New York gangster.
There were a lot of phone calls looking for that thing, the ratchet, which obviously was a gun.
They made it seem like some of these words was gang codes for us to try to thwart the authorities into believing that we was really trying to, you know, kill somebody.
On August 29th, Trenton authorities brought down the hammer. They charged Omar and 4 other sex, money, murder members with drug conspiracy and racketeering. Then they slapped Omar and OG Byrne with murder charges.
So they started locking up the heads, so they kept it up. They kept hitting racketeering, they kept coming back.
Omar was sentenced to 18 years for aggravated manslaughter. OG Byrne pled guilty to conspiracy to commit homicide and was given probation. Trenton PD had finally disrupted Sex Money Murder's cocaine empire. But a new problem erupted on the streets.
Anytime we take down a major drug connect, what we do is we create a power vacuum.
G-Shine wanted Sex Money Murder's territory, but SMM wasn't ready to give it up. March 29, 2006. SMM member Reginald Jackson, aka Hamburger, cruised G-Shine's territory, throwing single-dollar bills out of his car.
You know, driving through the hood, throwing money out a window, saying you're a bunch of broke, so-and-sos.
G-Shine responded by climbing into a pickup truck and heading to SMM territory.
It was pretty warm out for that time of the year. There was a lot of people out up in the projects up in West Trenton.
Gunfire erupted, and a stray bullet hit 7-year-old Tajanique Lee on her bike.
Is the child inside the house, baby? Okay, the child is inside of 1B? Where did the baby get shot at?
You got a portrait in the face somewhere.
They shot her in the face?
Yeah.
Oh, Lord have mercy. Lord have mercy. We on the way.
The bullet went through both of Tajanique's cheeks and knocked out teeth. She lost the tip of her tongue, but miraculously survived.
Innocent is innocent in my eyes, but that struck a nerve to every parent out there that, this could happen to my child.
The city's patience with the gang was gone, and Trenton PD prepared to end SMM for good. In just 1 week, they arrested 104 gangsters, but no one would ID the shooters.
No one ever came forward. I think that police may have identified 20 people that were eyewitnesses to the shooting.
The whole city was, in an outrage, like, man, something gotta be done. This is getting out of control.
Trenton, 2006. Police had put away Sex Money Murder's biggest names. But without missing a beat, a new generation stepped up.
Sex money murder, man. To the death, man.
They say you cut off the head of the snake, the rest will die. Yeah, not in this case. Just somebody else moves up to the head.
They think they crippled the organization. Only thing they did was broke up a structure, but by them breaking up a structure, they created more violence, because now you don't have no guidance of all these wild, I'm not gonna call my homies animals, but these wild homies.
I will put you down for the Blazing Billy, Mo.
The murder ratio got even worse, and the gangs grew, instead of us really containing the situation and being able to control it, because they couldn't. They still can.
In June 2009, a gunfight broke out between Sex Money Murder and G-Shine. This time, a 13-year-old girl was killed in the crossfire. Some say the fighting won't stop until everyone is dead. Almighty Blood Messiah says the violence has distracted from the gang's real purpose, making money.
The killings and stuff like that, that's killing the industry, because while the wars was going on, can't nobody hustle. You know what I mean?
Now he's promoting prosperity through an outreach program called Messiah's Hands, Inc.
We do this 15-week business course where we teach life character skills and we teach business skills. I know the people that need help. I'm one of them, and I know what help they need.
But Messiah's not ready to give up his position in the gang.
Being the Trent and being Sex Money Murder, they bring a smile to my face. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I love my set. You know, what can I say? I love my set.
If he's advocating to doing something for the community, then why are you with a group that is called Sex Money Murder?
Okay, many of you that have been keeping up with the show over the years, this is show 423 shows, and excuse me, I got a belch coming. I told you I was gonna belch. I was drinking that lemonade. Ooh, excuse me. That last video I played was from Gangland. Now, since then, the brother, both of those guys are doing positive things in the hood, especially Almighty Messiah. He's doing a lot of positive things since you see the video. So I played that for a reason. There's like a sign of the times, but that video is older and not reflective of actually what's going on right now. I played that just to let you know, this is why it's hard for us to get ahead when we praise the wrong things or get into the wrong things. And sometimes we got to correct ourselves. You know what I mean? So thank goodness that the two brothers featured in this video changed around and started helping people more. You know what I'm saying? So sometimes you got to go through hell in order to come out right. So now I'm going to drop some science on you. How is all this connected? The sinkholes. And I'm missing a couple videos because I was going to do the California earthquakes. I was going to drop some Bobby Hemming on you and all that. But I decided to go with Dr. Phil Valentine, especially because his wife was already on my show a few years back. Peace to Sister Nanali Valentine and Dr. Phil Valentine, master teachers. This is who I follow. Him, Bobby Hemmett, Dr. Sebi, Dr. Ben, throw some Sarah Suit and Seti up in there, because he be dropping bombs. Seti be dropping bombs. So y'all need to look them up. Shout out to my man's Azaziel Bay. Azaziel be dropping a lot of science, man. You want to learn something, check them brothers out. There's some sister too. Rest in peace to Dr. Frances Cress Welding, if I'm saying it right. She was great. You have a few female sisters that's dropping a lot of science too. Look them up. Look on metaphysics and see what pops up. Going to YouTube. But I'm gonna drop some science on you, and we're gonna take it out on this note because this video about 8 minutes long. I played this before, but I like to revisit stuff sometimes, just to reiterate. You know what I mean? This video is concerning hollow Earth. Now you got a lot of people saying the Earth is flat and all that, but I don't know. It's to each his own what one wants to believe, but when people, I might have to do a whole other show just on the hollow Earth thing. And, get some qualified people up here to really talk about this situation, because I still think the Earth is round, not just because of what they taught us in school with the globe, because you can leave one area. If you go in a straight line, you can come back to that same area in the back end. It's called circumnavigation. So you got to explain that circumnavigation, flat earthers. You got to explain that leaving straight you're going north, you continue going north, you're going to come back around from the east, from the south side. You're going to come back from the south side. So, y'all got to explain that, man. You know what I mean? Or maybe there's some other thing. Maybe you might have some other reason as to why the earth is flat or whatever, but that's a whole nother thing. So, pull that video up, Rube. This is Hollow Earth, Dr. Phil Valentine. I'll be back with you for the outro.
Consciousness manifests itself in what it calls the dark waters of potential. Consciousness manifests itself in what it calls the dark waters of potential in the form of spirals. In that angular rotation of the spirals, everything within that consciousness dynamic has to be created in that order. So all things that solidify around a center. And it solidifies according to the yin and the yang perspectives. One aspect has to be a yang, the other aspect has to be a yin. And since everything is spiraling in a spiral around a spiral, then it stands to reason that all things were created around a center. The center does not necessarily have to be a stick with something running around it. The centrifugal line of force that is invisible to us can act as the axis of consciousness, around which the elementals, through accretion, solidify themselves. That's how gravity takes place. The Earth itself has a centrifugal or center of reference around which the matter that we see has accrued. Depictions of this have been shown around the world constantly and is buried in the Vatican. Depictions of the fact that sailors who sailed into certain areas or zones of activity or places on the planet never returned. This is an actual depiction of the world as brought back by ancient mariners, and as a result, because of what it is that the Earth is really about, those who want to keep you in lockdown tell you that the whole damn thing is smooth, that somehow there's a top. But when John Glenn went up on the cover of Look magazine 1967, I believe, it showed the top of the world as a whole. And once that happened, NASA, the government, and the secret government, the shadow government, said anyone taking pictures of the world has to airbrush the both ends, where the hole is, before they release it to public. Now what we have are shots of NASA, please, showing you the top of the world. Some deep shit, right? And just when you thought that there wasn't something else to think about, now you know there's a hole in the fucking Earth. Right. Back in the 40s. Now what are you going to do about it? You're going to sit there and say, ooh, oh, that's some deep shit. Let me take another tote. Here's what they try to tell you is the Arctica and Antarctica. The Arctic and the Antarctica. But they never tell you what's going on. And as Maurice said, Admiral Byrd said that. In fact, he flew over what was called the North Pole, and as he was flying, he went down because he thought he saw something to a low trajectory and height, and began skimming at the top of the trees. And he said, well, wait a minute, where are we, over Greenland? He said, well, wait a minute, Greenland don't have palm trees and these different kind of fauna. It don't make no sense. Where are we? He was flying inside the planet. Started to call back, and all of the communication, this is in his log, which the government confiscated. Started to call back to ask, where am I, where are my bearings, and all of the communication shut down. As he flew, he documented, and I read it, he said he saw animals that he thought were extinct. And only because his plane was running out of gas did he not either land or keep going. And he was flying, he said, for at least 500 miles before he turned around and flew back out. When he returned, the government said, okay, that's it, thank you, and tried to assassinate him. Bird. Said, yep. He took 4,000 men with him. Right, now we're just going to get to that. He convinced some members of the military that our government has not been too truthful to us. And he came back with evidence of this and was able to grab up a few thousand men to make a move to get in there. But as he entered the lip to get in, he started getting fired upon. To this date, jets fly over the aperture to make sure that no commercial plane flies over the North Pole. This is a photograph taken January 1967 by the satellite ESA 3, clearly showing the hole in the North Pole. We live on a fucking donut. Maybe why Dunkin' Donuts is so damn popular. Yeah. The light is the sun. And you have to remember that our angle to the sun changes as it spins. So the satellite may take pictures that are reflective. And remember also that the cameras that are taken up there are created to reflect the light of the sun onto the place where it is to take the picture of. So there is clearly a hole. Listen, looky, looky. There's your Earth. There's your hole. There's your hole. There's your hole. Now, get ready. What you are seeing is a satellite shot zooming in on the hole and taking pictures of projected light inside. What are you looking at? Right here. No, you're looking at green. Mountains, vegetation. You don't understand? It means that the earth has life not only living on the outside of borders of it, but the inside borders. And that whatever that energy is that travels from the top of the North Pole out to the bottom of the Antarctica, there is a centrifugal and countercentrifugal force that is also creating gravity on the inside as well as on the outside. consciousness manifests itself in what it calls the dark waters of potential in the form of spirals. In that angular rotation of the spirals, everything within that consciousness dynamic has to be created in
that up. Okay. See, I had to leave you with some science. This video was supposed to be on Hamilton Radio 1, but it ended up on Horse Films LLC. So I'm probably gonna put this out later. My Facebook account is on suspension for a minute, so I'm gonna put all this. I've still been doing the show, so I'm gonna put it out later. And you know, cause one bad apple don't stop the show. You know what I mean? We just don't roll like that. You know what I mean? So I say that to say this. You know, I'm like, now that's not the first time I played that video, and I actually had more stuff, but it's about that time. We got like 2 minutes left. You know what I mean? I mean, wisen up, people, learn something. Stop walking around here all fucking dumb and stupid and shit. It's not becoming of grown folks. You can't have intelligent conversations. You're talking to some grown people sometimes. It's as if you're talking to little kids sometimes. Like you don't even want to be bothered. Intelligent people do not want to be bothered with no little kid ass acting adults. We don't want to be bothered. And I think that's why we got so many attention-starved people. Why? Because those people are in grown people's bodies still acting like children. And the real grown-ups don't want to be bothered. Especially with no grown kids. You know what I'm saying? For real. You wonder why ain't nobody calling you, ain't nobody checking for you, ain't nobody you gotta always reach out because there must be something about you that people don't want to be bothered by. Me, I like to be by myself anyway. You know what I'm saying? Because I use my time to study, I do my music. You know, I get my little game time and my little gamer time and all that stuff. But business still got to get handled, man. You know what I mean? Children don't like to be around adults because they know that the adults are going to discipline them about the frivolous things that they're doing. You're being disciplined. This is grown folks' business. It's not for little kids. Especially when you spitting some science or presenting some truth or some scientific facts or beliefs. This can only be conveyed by grown folks. It's not this whole talk show thing and all that. This is a grown man and woman's playground where the toys have warning signs on them. Use with caution. I'll see you next week. Peace. Cut it. Cut it.